What's going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and it is another Friday Night Live. I know I didn't do it last week. Go ahead and apologize for that. Things were a little bit crazy, but got some pretty cool things to talk about. What's going on, Chris? Hey, Eric. What's going on, Jake? Oh, man. What a week. What a crazy week this has been. Trey Harper, what's going on, man? Everybody hopping in. That's awesome. That's awesome. Good morning or good night, whatever the day, whatever it is. I don't know what it is anymore. It's been a crazy week. But anyway, so it's been we did the KBF National Championship. That was the last live deal that we did. It was awesome. We awarded $100,000 to the winner of the championship. Third or fourth place got $25,000. That was including bonus bucks and things like that. Second place got 30,000. I mean, good grief, that kind of money for kayak fishing, that's a lot. But got a few things to go over real quick. Let a few more people get on before I make the big announcements. But yeah, I had a little bit of boat trouble yesterday. Luckily, it's not a really big deal. I blew just a seal, and so they'll have that fixed next week. It happens. That's what happens when you own a boat. Every once in a while, you have an issue, and you get it fixed. That's why you have insurance. That's why you take care of things like that. It was really cool. It's the first time I've had to call the insurance to come tow me back in, and it was pretty neat. They showed up within the hour and got me to the boat ramp, and so that was a pretty cool experience. So what's going on, Chris? Let's see. We're gonna hold off on the questions. One cool thing that's going on Monday, either Monday or Tuesday, but probably Monday, I'm launching a new website. It's for right now, it's going to be flukemastr.com, a place where you can go find all my shirts that I've designed, all my hats, any kind of anything. We got little tumblers that's going to be. Here's a kind of an example, but not really. But we're going to have tumblers like this with my logo on it, but it's going to be laser engraved. This is just a decal that I put on there a few weeks ago, and a bunch of other stuff. Also going to be selling rods, reels, tackle, anything that I use. We're going to have really cool things like my favorite baits of the month or favorite baits of the season, and so it's going to be pretty cool. So look out for that. Like I said, it's going to be flukemaster.com. And I'm excited. We've been hard at work at it, and it should be a whole lot of fun. And it's mobile friendly too, which was a huge deal to me. So, what else is going on? That's the big one. Other things is be sure to subscribe to my fishing shirt of the month. Keep doing that. We're still doing them. Pretty cool shirts. This little shirt I just got in the mail today. Let me stand up and show it to you. So pretty happy about that. They Toyota stepped up and it's helping me out a little bit. So it's pretty cool. Thinking anything else? I had it all written down in a notepad upstairs, but that's the big announcements. And as I remember the other ones, I'll go ahead and tell you guys. But let's go ahead and start with the season. Let's talk a little bit about spawn. I caught my first fish off the bed day before yesterday, um, and they were just males. The males had just moved up. You guys that follow me on Instagram probably saw the big females that I caught earlier this week. Two big sevens, and I caught them on staging spots. Basically, you got the spawning flat on these lakes, and then the first drop, which is about 4 feet deep. They were on brush piles at the first drop, just kind of hanging out, waiting to move up to spawn. So that's basically what I was doing. Is I was slow rolling a chatterbait, um, one of those jackhammer chatterbaits, slow rolling it, and I brought one over top of a limb and got hung. Was shaking it loose, and I felt a bite, and I waited for a half a second and set the hook, and the fish wasn't on there, but I knew there was a fish there, and he had taken it off of the limb for me. So I reeled it back in, threw out there a few times with like a flipping bait. Sebastian, thanks, man. I'll get to good baits on windy days here in just a second, but threw back in a couple of times with a Texas rigged rage bug. Couldn't get him to bite. So I threw that chatterbait in again, brought it over the limb, got it about 3 feet away from the bush, and felt a bite. Set the hook, nothing there. I killed it. I stopped it, didn't reel nothing, just let it fall to the bottom, and the bass went over and picked it up, and that's when I set the hook, and she was 7.5 pounds. The other one was just I was working a point and hit a 7 pounder. So that's what you kind of what you need to do when you see males on the bed with no females, or males up cruising looking for beds with no females. Pull out to that first drop, and you'll start catching bigger fish. Happens every time. So anyway, let's get back to the question and answer. Sebastian, thanks for the $1.99, brother. Good baits for windy days, ponds from the bank. Um, ooh, goodness, spinner baits. Anything you can throw in the wind is kind of what I would throw, but moving baits, mainly spinner baits. If I was on a boat or had a way to get something unsnagged, I would throw a lipless crankbait and things like that. But a spinner bait, a swim bait, a jig headed fluke, anything like that will work just fine. So, goodness. Let's see. Grant, prayers sent out for Ryan, his mom, and family, and you, brother. Gone but not forgotten. Yeah, it's been a year since Ryan passed away. So, it's been a pretty sucky year. But hopefully, he left a legacy to show you guys that drugs are definitely not the way to go with life. But what a great angler he was. Luca asked favorite pre-spawn chatterbait size and color. It just depends. Color depends on the water clarity. I usually start with a green pumpkin, a darker color, but if the water's a little bit muddy, I'll switch to black and blue. Or I'll throw a white and chartreuse is really good in the mud too. But my main color is going to be anything with green pumpkin, maybe a little bit of orange, and then a white and chartreuse. So, are the jackhammer chatterbaits worth the extra money? You know what? They have all the top quality components, sharpest hooks. I mean, everything about them is top quality, and yeah, they're worth the extra money because they put that kind of quality into them. But yeah, that's definitely what I would I'd say go ahead and spend a couple of bucks on at least get one and try it out. Um, Hey Fluke, how does the Mayfly compare to the big rig? Have you tried it with the Torpedo? The Mayfly, it would be difficult with a Torpedo because you can't put a rudder system in it. I loved the Mayfly a lot better than the big rig. It was lighter, it was lower to the water, so it didn't catch the wind quite so bad, and was a great kayak. I'll never say it wasn't. It was my favorite kayak. So, but I'm in a bona fide now, and it's incredible how stable and how nice that thing fishes. So, um, let's see. Barry B asked me if I'm tying my own jigs. No, sir, I'm not. Outdoors ties those jigs now. They're part of the Flukemastr series. So go to Seabird Outdoors and check out the Flukemastr series of jigs, and you'll see mine. Going to add some new colors this year as soon as I hear from him, and just going to keep doing some really cool things with him. He's been a friend of mine for many years. What do you think of the Daiwa reels and rods? I haven't tried a Daiwa since the Tatula a few years ago, and I ended up giving it away just because it felt really big in my hands, and I didn't like how big it was. It's a great reel. Don't get me wrong; it's an absolutely great reel, but it was too big for my hands. So used to those smaller ones. Um, Triple C fishing. What to throw on a cloudy day in stained water after a week of clear skies? Woo! Stained water, cloudy day is all that's important in that right now. And I would be throwing some reaction baits, big bladed spinner baits, lipless crankbait. Throw them in white and chartreuse, or chartreuse and black, or anything like that, and you'll be able to catch some fish on it. Ryan Gibbs. Yeah, you're right. Bonafide has dry pods available for sale now. Got my extra one today. Yeah, I totally recommended that. When I went and picked up my kayaks, I picked up an extra dry pod, and I have one that's a sacrificial one that I try out with new things, and I drill holes in it, and I can beat it up and still keep my other one nice and clean. So, um, hey Jim, what's going on, man? Thanks, man. Those two sevens were sweet. One of them manhandled me. I had my drag set too high because I switched from 65 pound braid to 15 pound fluorocarbon on my Concept Z, and I forgot to change the drag. So she beat me up pretty good. They were making fun of me down at 13 Fishing today when I told them that I got beat up by a girl. Oh, let's see. Post spawn go to bait is going to be a top water bait. Anything a whopper plopper, a spook, a buzz bait is what I'm going to throw in post spawn. That and some crankbaits. See, yeah, you're right. Yeah, yakking with Sarah. Sarah says, I think everyone caught big fish this week. It was true. It was one of those big fish weeks. That's why it breaks my heart that my boat's in the shop right now. But Bucks Island Marine is in Gadsden, Alabama. And guys, I'm telling you, if you were, I'm an hour and a half from there. And if you guys are anywhere within 2 hours of that place, that is they have treated me like gold over there. And I just, it's hard to find a good Marine that will take care of you, take care of your boats and stuff like that. But man, their customer service is out of this world. So, yak and fishing, man, thanks for the $2, brother. It really helps. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a really good question. Mustang Sally asks, why don't you like Cincos? It goes way, way, way back to the Bass Resource Forum days when I was on staff at Bass Resource. We had a moderator that is a Cinco freak, loves Gary Yamamoto Cincos. The only problem is that he always trashed everybody else that used anything but Cincos, and it really just pissed me off. And so I swore against Cincos just because of that, and it became a long time kind of a button heads thing between me and him, and on the forums, and all my buddies from those days remember how that all went down. But it wasn't. It was more friendly, button heads, but just was what it was. The joke is an ongoing joke that I don't like Cincos. Truth is, I fish them. I have 2 packs in my boat almost every day, but just because just because it's a joke, we just go with it. So, what? Uh, let's see. Jim says found a good flow to fish nearby. Nearby, good man. All I got is a kayak right now, so let's rock and roll. I'm all for that. Got my first Lowrance unit today with my yak. When are you gonna show us how to use them? As soon as I figure, I don't want to make a video and be fumbling around with all the new buttons and stuff I've got to get used to. So let me get used to them first, and then I'll make a video about it. But that's the plan. So Joe just got back from his cruise. Good, Joe, man. I hope you had fun, man. And the dinner was good at your restaurant as always. Your mom and dad took care of us. Um, let's see. Let's see. What's the best way? Big red bass. What's the best way to find what depth fish are when bank fishing? It's hard to tell what depth of fish are. What I do is instead of trying to think of feet, I think of count down my lure. So if I'm throwing a Carolina rig, I count it down to see how deep the bottom is, and I pay attention to where my bait was when I got bit. Then I'll throw it out and I'll count it down and see where it got bit. So instead of feet, when I don't have a fish finder, I go with seconds. 1,000, 2, 1,000. In my head, every time I make a cast, I count how many seconds it takes for the bait to get to the bottom. And that's kind of how I do it. First bait to use on a new lake for pre-spawn. Any kind of moving bait, really. You're searching. That's all it is. It's not that it's pre-spawn. You need a search bait. Square bill, lipless crankbait, chatterbait, spinner bait, swim bait, anything that's going to be a search bait that's going to help you move quick and find the fish. So, let's see, the complete angler buddy. Thanks for the $2. Have you ever used a Jackal Gantrel? One time, and I have not caught any fish on it. So, because I only fished it, I only fished it one time. So, anyway, it's a good bed fishing bait. Everybody that I know that's fished it loves it. So, I just don't try those big expensive ones very much. So. Jack Thompson, you're the man, Gene. You've paved the way for all these guys. Hope you remember fishing in Clarks Hill March 12th, 2014. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I do. I miss Clark Hill. I was over there the other day for a TV interview. The news in Augusta did a TV interview of me, and fishing was horrible. I knew exactly where the fish was because I fished that lake for so long. Went and I found them on my fish finder and couldn't get anything to bite. Really bad cold front move through the night before, so. Aaron Pilkerton, do you ever fish South Georgia lakes? I've got some private waters down there that I fish, and I fish a couple of the public fishing areas as I'm traveling through. But I usually make it all the way down to Florida to Bienville Plantation and fish. But I'd love to get down there and try out some of those small little ponds and lakes that you can put a kayak into. So Yorger asked me, "Do you like to use a chatterbait?" Yes, I use it all the time, especially this time of the year. So, have the bass moved up at Chickamauga? The bass right now, Chick, as of yesterday, are scattered. The water's coming up really, really fast, and the fish are scattered. They're shallow. They're on points. They're basically just put the troller motor down, grab a couple of lipless crankbaits, and start fishing. So, yep, that would be what I would do exactly. And we were on them yesterday until my trolling motor and my big motor broke. That's what's funny. My cable on my trolling motor broke, and you know what? It's more of a blessing than it's a curse. Had it not broken, we'd still been out on the lake at night and or towards the evening, and then my motor would have blown on the way back up to the boat ramp, and we'd have been stranded out there at night waiting on the guy to show up. So that was more of a blessing than anything. So, what's my biggest fish of 2018? The one I caught on Tuesday. It was 7.5 pounds. 7.45 pounds is what it measured. So I've got all that video and stuff. I've got to, as soon as I'm done here, I'm just gonna stay up all night and dump video off of these SD cards. Been promising my editor Paul for about a week and a half to do that, and I haven't done it. So, man, Aaron Pilkerton says, "Come to Lake Chehaw or Blackshear." Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love Blackshear. I've actually been there once. Let's see. Do you ever recommend fiberglass rods? No, because the moderate action uh, um, carbon rods are so good right now. They're very very seldom do I even think I need more of a flimsy rod than those. If I had to pick a negative about the Bonafide, what would it be? I talked to them about it. I want a hatch right underneath the seat to be able to access that big void in that spot, just to put emergency stuff like emergency clothes, that kind of stuff. That's the only thing that I would add to it. I really have not found a negative to it yet, and believe me, I look. I need to spend a lot more time on it, just trying to do that kind of stuff. I would like to see the seat tied down in the back, but that's just me. It's not a big deal really. So Vans, okay, I'll check Facebook when I get a chance. I'll check your message. Thanks for the $2. Do the 13 concepts come out of your own factory? I don't work for 13, or I don't I'll run 13, so I have no clue, Boro. You have to ask 13 that. What are some good lures for new bass anglers? Bank fishing for me. I'm kind of stuck on shore. Dude, seriously, I would stick with a Texas rig, soft plastic, shaky head, a spinner bait, and a Cinco is what I'd be throwing. So, do I use a shorter rod for pulling jerk baits? Yes, I do. I would use a 6'8" medium moderate action rod for jerk baits. Let's see. Larry Sharp, love you from mountains of Virginia. Hopefully, I can get a mayfly soon to try the Gulf of Mexico. Thanks for the pre-spawn advice. Big bass tour as a Smith Mountain Lake. That's pretty cool, man. I was actually born in Covington, Virginia, right up the road from Smith Mountain Lake, but I don't remember it. I was really young when we moved. So, can you give advice on a small fishing channel growing, to the do's and don'ts when it comes to gaining subs? The best thing you can do is what I haven't been doing lately is be consistent. Have a schedule that you launch videos. Um, the more videos, the better. But you gotta have that fine line. If you start doing a whole lot of videos, then the problem is you lose quality. So you want to keep your quality up as well. John B is excellent at it. He's got a schedule. He doesn't do a whole bunch during the week, but he has a quality. He puts out quality content. So it's kind of a mix you have to play with. But the trick is to do as many as you can and be consistent with them. Um, Trailer on a spinnerbait, or will that gallywonk it? I don't know what the heck that means. Okay. Um, Thanks for the $2 though. Ever had a chance to use any six gill stuff? No, I haven't. I've been hearing a little buzz about it. So they're doing a pretty big marketing push right now. So it's hard not to hear about them. But I haven't tried them yet. So how about them shoal bass, Fluke? I love shoal bass. Absolutely. Best way to bed fish with polarized glasses in muddy water. You don't need polarized glasses in muddy water because you just can't see through the muddy water. The best way I do muddy water bed fishing, you know the bass are going to be super, super shallow. So you do a light Texas rigged lizard, dark colored lizard, and you just cast and wind it really, really slow. Cast it across those flats that they're spawning in, and just wind it very, very slow. And when I say light Texas rig, probably an eighth of an ounce is the heaviest I would go. Throw it out, let it sink to the bottom, and then just slowly reel it back. A rage lizard is probably the best because it gives off the most vibration. Another thing I might use is something like a rage craw. You just want a soft plastic that gives off a really, really good vibration. So, Brett Davis, thanks for the $2. And you're welcome for answering the question, bro. Thanks a lot. $5 from T Star 300. Love the videos. Keep up the great work. Just bought a Bonafide SS127. What a good fish finder. What's a good fish finder for the yak? Again, thanks for all the great videos. I say this with anybody looking for a fish finder, whether it's for a kayak or a boat. Get the largest screen that you can afford because you can get the most detail out of it. Make sure it has a mapping or GPS with a map and a regular fish finder and a down imaging. Side imaging is really good, but you really need a really, really, really big screen for all the detail on side imaging. So that's why I use 2.9s on my big boat, is because one of them is strictly for side imaging and down imaging, so I can see all the detail. Man, there's 288 people on here. You guys are awesome. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Gosh almighty, I haven't had this many people on here in a long time. You guys are awesome. After using a green pumpkin trick worm, what should I use next as a beginner? Just switch to another soft plastic. This time of the year, use a creature bait. Dip a little bit of it in some green pumpkin creature bait and methylate JJ's Magic, and it will turn it orange. And just go fishing, man. It's a lot of fun. My go-to fluorocarbon skelter is Abrazex, Seaguar Abrazex. I have it on all of my fluoro rods, and I use it for all my leaders too. So, Ultimate Nathan, you got the reel. Good, man. That's awesome. I'm glad you let me know. I'm glad you like it. What's my favorite spinner bait? My favorite spinnerbait is a Mega Strike back spinnerbait. And I use it a lot of the times, but it's a big spinnerbait. So I want a small one. I like the, I think they're called mini me's, something like that. Those are my favorites. And then Strike King makes a bunch of really good spinnerbaits. I use just about every one of theirs. Let's see. What's your favorite springtime spinnerbait? Lucas asks. I don't really. Same thing. Same thing. Sorry, man. What soft plastic would you recommend for a beginner? I'd recommend two. A trick worm on a shaky head or on a Texas rig can always catch fish. It's just one of those things where that's what I use when it's tough fishing. That's what I use when it's good fishing. And the other one is a rage craw if you want something that catches a little bit bigger fish. Brian Thomas, thanks for $2, brother. Best shaky head rod I use, because I use 1/8 ounce shaky heads. I use a medium light action spinning rod, 7 foot, 6'8", 7 foot on a spinning rod, and I never go over 8-pound test line. And if I'm fishing anything heavier than that, I go with a medium moderate action bait caster. So usually 1/4 ounce is what I throw in it. That's heavier than that. Michael, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. He says, thanks for all the knowledge and effort you give out to us. Beginner series is great and fills much needed void. Well done. Thanks, man. I'm going to bust a whole bunch of those out in the next few days because I don't have a boat. Either that or I'm going to go jump on my kayak. which will probably be a good idea too. Anyway, so what's a good kayak for a guy over 300 pounds? The Hobie Pro Angler 14, the Big Rig, the Bonafide SS 127, and oh my goodness, my mind just went blank. The attack the Wilderness Systems Attack, the large one, the 14 footer. Camo Fish Hunter, what do you think of Cascade products? I haven't found anything on them that really impressed me. I've tried a bunch of their stuff out, their line, their reels, their rods, and have just never been completely impressed. Can you guys help me to 400 subs? That'd be pretty cool. Fishing every day. Go sub to Fishing Every Day. Help him get to 400 subs. Aaron Hermosa, thanks for the $2, man. What do you think of a Lifetime kayak to start out with? I have not tried them. That'd be a good thing to ask in the kayak bass fishing forums kayak bass fishing page on Facebook. KBF page is they have a ton of people that have used every type of kayak. I would definitely ask them that. Alex, man, thanks for the $2 or the $5. What do you get more fish on lighter? Why do you get more fish on lighter lines other than longer cast? Is there something else? Could it be more sensitivity? I think that's hard to answer. It all depends on the situation, really. I like fishing light line. You get a lot more fish because I don't think they get line shy. I think that in your head when you're fishing it, you're a lot more attuned to what's going on because you're finesse fishing. You're fishing with light lines. So Hector, man, watching in Fresno, California, cool, man. I hope to get out there this year. Ray Luther says, Gene, I'll be seeing you again in Nashville June the 2nd. Yes, I'll be doing a little seminar June 2nd. Go to my Instagram page again get the information. I don't really have it with me. Hold on, let me pull it up. Maybe it's on my phone. But you guys keep giving me messages, and I can't. All right, so it's called Storytelling Night, presented by Filson. I'll be basically doing seminars June 2nd at 6 p.m. and it's in Nashville, Tennessee at 818 3rd Avenue South. Anyway, it's on my Instagram page. So, but Chad's texting me, so I know it's probably something that I need to have. Oh, cool. Never mind. It's his new wrap that he's getting. Yes, and they are $25 a ticket. I did not realize that, but the organization that's putting it on is charging $25 a ticket. But there's a bunch of guys. It's not just me talking. It's a bunch of other guys too. So, what brand would you recommend for frogs? Start off with a Spro Frog. It's my favorite one. It's what I use most of the time. And I have a bunch of other ones. The Booyah Frog's really good. The Live Target Frog is really good. Those are the ones I go to most of the time. So, yes, Jerry, I use the FG knot. What lure would you fish for bass in water that's between 35 and 45? A jig and a jerkbait. Shimano Corrado K or Concept A? The Concept A, because I haven't tried the K yet. I want to get a hold of one and try it. Thanks, Ozark. Appreciate it. Let's see, have I missed anything? Give me a hot second. Jack said, hey, on Rocky Mountain PFA, thanks for the $2, man. Yes, I remember that. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Best place to fish a Ned rig anywhere, really. Get the weedless ones, the weedless Ned heads for brush and rocks. I fish them in rivers. I fish them in lakes. I fish them everywhere. So thanks, McGreg. Thanks for the $4, man. When should I get sponsors? That's actually a really good question. I'm going to give you the nut and bolts of it real quick. Make yourself more valuable to your sponsors than they are to you. Was the biggest thing that I finally decided several years ago, that I was just going to stop looking for sponsors. I was going to build myself and build my brand and build everything up so big that they couldn't ignore me anymore. And then the ones that come to me are the ones that accept me for what the way I am. They're not going to want to change me. The minute they decide they want to change me, that's when I'm like, nope, not anymore. That's not, it's not me. And if they lose that vision of what I do and how I do it, I just step out. Just recently did that with a couple of sponsors. So it's what happens. I mean, that's the way I am. My integrity is much more important than anything else. And if they, if a sponsor starts asking me to do something different than what I would normally do, um, I'm not going to have it. So just the way it is. How to fish shallow coontail without pulling in weeds every cast, dude. I don't know. Uh, it's tough. I'd use a weedless trick worm. I'd use something small. Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning. Um, let's see. What bait would you use to fish the bottom of if there's a lot of algae on the bottom? I'd use a drop shot because it gets your bait up above that algae. I'd use a Mojo rig because it's an 1/8 ounce or even lighter than that weight. It's kind of a finesse Carolina rig weight. I've got an older video about that. It's just that's just you don't want your bait to go into that muck that's on the bottom. And if there's any matted vegetation or matted grass up on top, you want to concentrate up on that upper part of the water column. The bass are going to be up underneath the grass. They're not going to be down in that muck on the bottom. Shoal bass go-to bait: a black finesse worm on either a shaky head or a Texas rig. What pound line for jerk baits, and do you fish a float and fly ever? I haven't fished a float and fly for years just because I haven't been on a lake where you can do it because it's really good around those bluff walls in the wintertime. But I got probably, and I'm gonna toot my own horn. I probably got the best float and fly video online on my channel. Mike Buca did it, the Bullshad Buca, and it's an absolute great video about that. So let's see. Oh, okay, Kevin, you answered that question for Lady Bass. Thanks, man. Um, Let me get rid of this guy real quick. Done. Tips for a beginner jig fisherman. Um, Only take a jig. Don't take anything else. Drag really slow. Keep your bait on the bottom. If it's not on hard bottom, go find somewhere that it's hard bottom. If it's mushy, feels like you're dragging a sock on the bottom, you're in muddy bottom and they're not going to bite. So the best thing to do is go to a lake or fish an area of your lake that's got hard clay bottom or rock or gravel or shell beds and just drag your jig and don't take it off the bottom. You can shake it a little bit, but don't take it far off the bottom. So let's get rid of that dude. Not really good. Do I fish spoons? I have fished them a little bit. Matter of fact, I'm going to get somebody to teach me how to fish those big old monster spoons. I tried this last year and I was ready to just choke myself. It was pretty bad. So some of those things, I learned years ago that if you don't know and you can't figure it out, then find somebody that knows and have them teach you. So that's my goal this year is to find somebody to teach me how to fish those big old stinking spoons. Have you ever been to Lake Cumberland? No, I haven't. Sorry, man. What's the best topwater bait? The one the bass want, I guess. I love a Super Spook Junior. I love all kinds of the one the bass destroys is my favorite because it makes for a great day. I'm sorry, I just let the bass tell me which ones they want. Um, let's see. Outdoors with A&D asked me. You may have already answered this, but what happened to your motor? I blew a seal. It happens. I don't know why it happens. I don't think anybody has an answer. I broke the motor in. It can happen when you don't break the motor in properly, but I know I broke it in properly. It just sometimes it happens, and that's why we take care of it with insurance. And it's part of owning a boat. It sucks. It really does. But it's a simple fix. It's just going to take a few days, and I'll get it back sometime late next week. I took it to Bucks Island Marine in Gaston, Alabama, which is an hour and a half away. And honestly, and it's a shameless plug, but dude, seriously, I love that place. They take care of me. They take care of all their customers. They're third generation, which means that they are doing something right. So anyway, if you ever have any problems with your boat or you just want to go buy a boat, go check out Bucks Island Marine in Gaston, Alabama. But how do you use a spook? If spook, I have one, but I don't know how to use it. Go watch the videos, dude. I've got one on how to walk a spook. I got one on how to use one. It used when I was on Clark Hill. It was one of my favorite baits that I always had tied on there. So, how do you enter a BFL tournament? You join FLW Outdoors website and you enter it through there. How much time do you give a big before you say no? Oh, so okay, I got it. Tony asked, how much time do you give it before you say no? They're not biting on this today. It's usually when I lose confidence in it. Same thing with an area. If I'm fishing an area and I'm like, oh man, I just don't feel like I can catch a fish here. I've got to the point where I can recognize that immediately, and I go and I change. Same thing with a bait. As soon as I lose confidence in it, I change it, and that's what a lot of people don't do. They still try to the same bait even though they don't have confidence in it. So, B Bowman, thanks for the $10, man. I really appreciate it. Do you upgrade all your hooks on hard baits, mainly cranks or jerk baits? Not on the Strike King ones. I will upsize them if I need to, especially the lipless crankbaits or the square bills. But I don't on the Strike Kings typically. They dole out pretty quick, so I will quickly change them. I always have some in my box, but usually the first 5 or 6 days I'm fishing them. If I'm not beating them up against rocks, I don't worry about it. The hooks these days are so much better than they were years ago, and that's kind of where you hear that change in hooks out on new baits is because back in the day, those hooks sucked, and you did want to change them out. But now I don't think you really need to, not on most baits. Um, oh man, good grief! You guys asking a ton of questions. Macy Hill, love bass fishing. Your videos have taught me a lot. Where do you get your baits from? Mostly Tackle Warehouse is where I get my tackle from. That and local tackle shops. I don't like to go to the big box stores. I like to put my money in these local mom and pop shops. We got Country Sportsman right down the road. I spent about $100 there today. So bought some big old swim baits. Anyway, so that's what I do. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure you hit subscribe. I really appreciate it. And this is awesome. 327 people. My goodness. Let's see. MIDI, what size split rings is best to use for treble hooks? You know what? I don't really know much about the sizes. I usually just compare them with the ones that are on the baits that I have, and I switch them out with the same size. I tell you though, Spro makes some of the best split rings that I've ever used. They're solid. They don't bend out real easy. If I was to have to worry about changing split rings out, those the Spros are what I would go with. So hey Kevin, man, thanks for helping me answer questions. I really appreciate it. You guys pay attention to the Baitman TV. He knows his stuff. He has a tackle shop in Tennessee, right on the near Tennessee Kentucky line, right north of the Kentucky Lake. So he also has a website called TackleFreaks.com, and you can go buy your stuff there too. So Nate Phil, thanks for the $2.79 Canadian. Appreciate it, brother. Somebody figured out from Canadian. McGreg 4.99, 4.99. Not promoting your sponsors. What is the best kayak in the market right now for from $700 to $1,000? The New Canoe Flint at $99.99 is the best one below $1,000 on the market right now. And I'm not sponsored by them, but that's what I'll tell anybody under $1,000. That New Canoe Flint is an absolute home run. I got a chance to paddle the prototype, the heavy clunky prototype. And it was awesome how stable it was. So that's what I would go with. Plus the new ones is so light and you can throw it up on top of your car and just go. Can you give Kevin a shout out? What's up, Kevin? Appreciate you watching, bro. Lucas, that's funny. Giant bass. Oh man. What is the best time of year to throw a squarebill crankbait? Spring and fall, and in the summer when they're thick in the grass. So let's see. Um, what am I looking for? Do I like pedal kayaks? Me personally, no, I don't. Um, I love to paddle. I've gotten so used to paddling over the years. What a lot of people don't know is I've been paddling for many, many, many years. Just never could figure out how to mount a camera to it, so I never really showed anybody. But I don't know. I just love to paddle. I love the stealthiness of it. I don't like to worry about things hitting the bottom of my boat and breaking my pedals off and my pedal drive off, so I just don't do it. Let's see, braid or fluorocarbon on bait casters. I guess it just depends. I use braid on all my heavy stuff. I use braid in a lot of stuff. I learned the hard way last year that 30 pound is not heavy enough for braided. I mean, for a bait caster. I use 50 pound braid on all my bait casters now, mainly because for some reason the diameter of 30 pound is really causes it to be really easy to backlash, and so I have backlashed a lot last year until I switched back to fluorocarbon until I got some 50 pound braid. So anchor trolley, no, I use a anchor up front and my power pole in the back. But a trolley would be really good. I mean, I know a lot of people that use it and use it very well. It's just one of those things you have to get used to. So, what are my thoughts on Lou's bait casters? Bought my first one this year and I really like it. They are really good bait casters. I've had, I've bought 5 over the last 10 years. And probably 3 over the last 5 years. I've had 2 break on me, a spinning reel and a bait caster both break on me. So, um, yeah, that was a little tough. But other than that, they've been really good. They cast a mile, and they're really good, good and last long. Sorry, I'm trying to read at the same time. Do I use a hydro wave? No. What's your recommendations for a medium power spinning rod? For multiple finesse styles. If I'm going to use a medium, I usually go with a 7'3", just because a 7'3" tends to be a little bit have a lot more give than like a 6'8", 6'10", 6 foot 11. Oh well, they don't make 6'11", but anyway, it has a little bit more give, and so you still have that backbone of a medium action. So that's what I would use, a 7'3". I love the fake chromes from 13 Fishing, but just play around with them. Everybody's got different feels, but that fake chrome's just got a lot of end to it, a lot of tip to it, and I really liked it. So thanks, AJ. Thanks for the sub. What crankbaits do I use in the spring? I concentrate on flat cranks, um, square bills that dive between 0 and 7 feet deep is what I concentrate on. So that's usually what I go. Some lakes like Chickamauga want shad colors work better, and then other lakes like Clark Hill crawfish work better. And it usually has to do with what the bottom makeup is. Chickamauga doesn't have whole lot of crawfish. They don't have a lot of clay banks where those crawfish like to breed and live, but Clark's Hill does. So, what rod and reel to use with a shaky head? A 7 foot, 6'8", 7 foot medium light action spinning rod. Let's see. I saw one I want to answer. Oh, what's your favorite summer lure? A big honking worm. I like Magnum finesse worms, Magnum trick worms. I like Zoom. What are the big Mag 2s are really good. The old monsters, anything big Texas rig worm, I'm dragging around on the bottom in the summertime. Of course, it gets really really hot down here. Does it matter what the color of the crankbait is for different seasons? It mainly matters, but due to the water clarity. But in the spring and in the late fall, I'm trying to mimic crawfish, and in the rest of the year, I'm trying to mimic bait fish like bluegill or shad or something like that. Um, Justin Sanchez, Fluke, just want to say, hey man, I started fishing a little over a year ago, and you've taught me a lot. Thanks, man. That's awesome, brother. I'm glad I could help. I really am. What's your number one search bait? Square bill and a chatterbait are the search baits I use the most. I like a chatterbait because you can keep it close to the bottom and you can do a bunch of different crazy things with it, and it typically stays pretty much snag proof, except for when you bring it through a brush pile. What do you recommend for muddy water Texas bass if I don't have a fish finder on a John boat? I would go with a big bladed spinner bait and a chatterbait and a square bill anything that has any kind of vibration, and fish shallow because muddy water, the bass move shallow in that muddy water, so they're not going to be very, very deep. What's your favorite lake to fish? Oh, Chelsea, that's a tough one. Lake Wilson in Tennessee is probably my favorite lake. It's one of those that just kind of fits my styles. It has a bunch of different options. You can fish bluff walls, grass, offshore structure, deep, shallow, everywhere. It just, I've always done good on that lake. Matter of fact, I was going to go there Monday of this next week, but my plans got canceled because of the weather. Actually, because the bite died that I wanted to go do. I was going to go with Mike Buca down there and fish for some big old smallmouth, but that bite's pretty much died until after the smallmouth are done spawning. JT Outdoors, do you have any tips for fishing Chickamauga this time of year for a newbie? Right now, because the water's coming up on Chick, just grab a lipless crankbait or a chatterbait and just turn the trolling motor on and go fishing. If you're bank fishing, just hit the points. If you can get to a point, hit the points and throw, make multiple casts because those fish are moving, they're scattered. They'll come and go on your point, and so you'll catch a few, and then it'll be a long dead spot, dead time, and then you'll catch a few more. Let's see. Trailer for a spinnerbait. I usually just put a trailer hook on. I don't use much of a trailer for a spinnerbait anymore. I used to, but now they have those really cool skirts that have that extra long skirt material on it. So, what do you recommend for clear water with lots of grass? A fluke. I don't know what it is about a fluke in grassy lakes, but man, that's what I would use, especially if the water's clear. Anything that is natural colored, a swim bait that looks exactly like the bait you're throwing is what I'd be careful and make sure you use. So, ever tried Spike It plastic worm dye? I used to be a Spike It guy years ago. I dipped every single soft plastic in Spike It until I was introduced to JJ's Magic, and I put it to the test multiple times. And JJ's Magic always outcaught Spike It, so eventually that Spike It went away, and I 100% used JJ's Magic. It's 10 times better than Spike It. It has a stronger garlic smell. It lasts longer. The dye lasts longer, and it just flat out works. It doesn't have that odor of acetone that tends to turn a bass off. Is what I think the reason why it catches more fish. So I got some really cool stories I'll tell one day about JJ's, but just put it this way, I did put it to a serious test before I even believed it, because I don't believe in anything they say it's magic. But anyway, JJ's is the bomb. Let's see. Somebody says fish with Matt and Tim. Yes, yes. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this guy because he can't watch his language. All right, there we go. Do you ever fish with copolymer line? Not anymore. Not since I signed with Seaguar, just because I don't have to. But if you need some really good copolymer line, the Iserline Triple X Super Copolymer is what I used for 15, 18 years. It's cheap because they don't have a marketing budget. They don't charge a whole lot for their line, and it is the best copolymer on the market. Still is and has been for years. So, and I always use the gray. If somebody always asks me what color, but it's always the gray colors that I use. Let's see. I saw on Instagram that you caught 2 7-pounders in a day. When will that video be uploaded? I'm not sure. Probably sometime next week, Tom. I need to pull a bunch of stuff off those SD cards. I'm gonna be pulling my hair out tonight trying to get all that sorted out. So, let's see. Hello, my name is Lauren. Hey, Lauren, what's going on? My husband could be fishing right now next to me, and he catches 3, 4s, and 7s. I could be using the same bait sometimes, but I came out flat. Any tips? Slow down. Fish a little slower than him is what I would do. It's kind of tough, but I tell you, that was one of Ryan's tricks when he used to fish out of the back of the boat all the time, and he'd outfish anybody he was in the boat with. Have I ever fished in Florida, Macy? Yes, I fish Florida every single winter. I get down there and I fish a bunch of different places. I spent a lot of time on Stick Marsh and Fellsmere this year. Let's see. Do you give much thought into Farmers Fishing Almanac? No, not really. I do pay attention to the feeding times of the salooner tables. Thanks to Chad Hoover over at Kayak Bass Fishing, he made me a believer. And so that's what I do. I believe in those salooner tables. They were a hill of beans to me when I first met Chad, but he showed me that yeah, you can catch fish all day, but your best fishing will be during those feeding times. It's crazy. Um, what's good to throw around this time of year? The weather is hot, cold, constantly and windy, 40, 60 degrees. Dude, your guess is as good as mine. I just try to throw what I have confidence in. These bass are so messed up right now because of this crazy weather. Um, uh, let's see. But anyway, so it's uh it's tough. Just basically grab some confidence baits and go fishing. Cover a lot of water. These bass are scattered. They're not sure what to do, whether to spawn or not to spawn. The bass moved up here to spawn the other day. It got cold. They moved back off. Just that time of the year. They'll eventually get up there shallow. Shane Y just got into kayak fishing this year, and I've been at it hard. There's nothing like setting the hook on a good fish from a kayak. You ain't kidding. Anybody considering it should take the next step for sure. That's very true. There is nothing like just wailing on a fish from a kayak, especially when it's a big one. And they tow you around, and it's like full combat. You're right there on the water. The fish comes up, flopping right at the boat. It is awesome. It is awesome. Yeah, the Louisiana sleigh ride. I took last year, or yeah, it was last year. I took John Cox fishing, the FLW champion, and put him in a Jackson Coosa and took him out to Bienville and put him on a spot that had a bunch of big ones on it. And he ended up catching an 8 pounder. And he turned to me after he got done because it took him for a ride. He turned around and he said, "I will never forget that fish as long as I live." And this is a guy that fishes every day for a living and catches big fish. He's like, that was an amazing fight because it was just flopping and thrashing all over right there at his hand. He couldn't get his hand on it. It was amazing to watch. He was like a kid again. So, outside of punching, do you ever peg your soft plastic? Yes, I will. I peg more than I don't. Mainly because I like to have a bait ready to throw into thick cover, and if it's pegged, I know it's going to come back out without any issues. So, your thoughts on Asian carp issues on Kentucky Lake? Honestly, I don't think it's an issue. My personal opinion is those baby Asian carp are really easy to swallow, and bass love to eat them. And I think the bass will gain a whole lot more weight a whole lot faster with more food. In the long term, I don't think it's a good thing, but right now, I think it is. Um, let's see. Love your channel, Gene. My question: what brand of chatterbait would you recommend? I use the Project Z chatterbaits from Z-Man Chatterbaits, and I also use the standard ones. I found that those wide head ones, like that's on the jackhammer, the wide heads come over wood a whole lot better. Those Project Z chatterbaits, you hit a stick of wood with it, they turn on their side and they flip over and get hung up a lot easier. But I don't typically fish those in the wood anyway. I fish them in grass and bare banks and that kind of stuff. Um, let's see. This guy asked, do you ever or have you ever used Bang on your jigs? No, I've never used Bang fish attractant. Best baits right now to use for bass. Go to my pre-spawn bait video, but I'll go ahead and name a few of them. Square bill, lipless crankbait, chatterbait, a jig, and there was one more, a spinnerbait, I think. I can't remember. Um, Gary says, shout out for Heidi Rose. Hey, Miss Heidi Rose, how are you? Thanks for watching. Gary, thanks for watching too, man. It's cool to have a grandpa like that, isn't it? Favorite crankbait? Um, years ago, I decided that I was going to make it real simple on myself. I had a ton of different types of crankbaits. I had Academy Sports brands. I had all kinds of Lucky Crafts. And I said, you know what? I'm going to simplify it and go with one brand of crankbait, just so I can always know exactly what each of the baits do right out of the box. So I chose Strike King, and I've been using Strike King ever since. And those have to be my favorite just because I know them really well. I know that this square bill is going to do this in the water. I know how deep they dive. I don't have to make any guesses. I just got really, really comfortable with them. So, Kevin, I'm not even going to try to Dwarshack. Huge fans of your information and teaching, Gene. Shout out to Soren. Hey, Soren, what's going on? What's going on, man? Thanks for the $5, Kevin. Uh, Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. See, we'll do this for about 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna jump off of here and start sending videos to my editor so he can get some stuff done for me. I know he's been waiting. I wanted to get a kayak like 800 to spend on it. What do you recommend? The Vibe kayaks, around $800. I'd look at the Vibes. They're probably the best ones at that price range. Um, let's see. Are you planning on doing any river kayak fishing videos? Yes. I definitely do. I mean, I got some of the best rivers right here near my house. I just haven't had a chance to get down them very often. I got the Coosa. I've got the Flint. Not the Flint. Flint's down South Georgia. I'm going to go there too. But I got the Coosa, the Etowah, and the Oostanula River right here. So, recommendations for fishing a deep, clear rock bottom lake jig when it has just recently come up to summer pool, mostly smallmouth. Yeah, small jigs. Um, and swim baits, lead-headed swim baits for smallmouth is what I'd be using. Jose Guzman, love your channel, Gene. What is your favorite weight for fluorocarbon? My one I use the most is 15. With Seagar, I make one order a year. They give me an allowance. I make one order a year, and I mostly buy 15-pound test, and it's because I use it on just about everything. That's not heavy and not light, just kind of the average stuff. Um, let's see. Have you ever thought about coming to California? I will probably come there sometime this year. That's the hope. Best baits for Florida right now, I am not sure. You probably a black and blue Cinco and some type of a paddle tail swimmer bait. The swimmer bait. That was pretty good. Is the Concept Z what it's cracked up to be? I don't ever see them on the pros decks. Mainly because there's not very many of them that the pros that have gotten them yet. We're so busy getting them out to dealers. They've sold out all over the country multiple times. That 13's just having a hard time getting to them or getting them to the pros. I have one. I won't get another one until they get caught up. I know that Dave Lefebvre has a bunch of them, but there just hasn't been enough they've given to us pros and pro staffers to use, and so that's why you haven't seen us. But it's really good. I've beat the crap out of mine. I've had it in salt water for 8 days back in November. I still haven't cleaned it. I fished it yesterday. I caught both of those big fish on Tuesday with it, and it just has never given me a single issue. It casts like a dream. It's smooth. I tell you, my aha moment was when I tied a weightless. I had it for 2 months, and I tied a weightless fluke on it, and I made that cast, and it just kept going. I'm like, holy crap, that was smooth. Because when you're casting those really light lures, the bearings do affect the cast. There's always a stutter in ball bearings. No matter what you do, there's always a stutter in ball bearings, and they affect the smoothness of the cast. And that was my wow moment. So, yes, it is exactly what. I don't care what people say. People that say that it's not as good as this, that, and the other stuff have not put it to the test and have not used it the way I've used it. So, I don't compare it to other reels. I don't say it's better than this one and better than that one or this one. And I don't get into that game. I just say it works good for me, and it does. Gene, I'm looking to set up a baitcaster specifically for square bills. Do you use braid to leader for that setup? You can. I'd use an FG knot because you're making a lot of casts, and an FG knot protects the fluorocarbon really good. Any of those other knots, you beat the crap out of your fluorocarbon. But I tend to go with any of my crankbait rods. I tend to go with straight fluorocarbon. Let's see. Case in point, Blake. Anyway, power pole or anchor trolley for a kayak. I honestly would use both because a power pole only works to 8 feet, but it's really good when you're in that shallow water. And then an anchor trolley, you can anchor yourself offshore as deep as your anchor can go, and roll with it. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here, you guys. It's been an hour. I really appreciate it. Be sure to check out my new website opening up on Monday, flukemastr.com. I will put that link in my Instagram. I'll make the announcement on Instagram, and then I'll make the announcement again next Friday on my next Friday Night Live. It's going to be awesome, dude. You can go and buy all of my apparel and everything else over there. And we're going to have new stuff every single month. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody's questions. And like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.